Bingo.
All right, everybody, welcome back to Paddle and Fin, the reel down. We'll give it a minute just to get going. How you doing, Jimmy?
Pretty good, man. How was your fourth?
Yeah, it's good. We went back home. You know, I'm from Biloxi, from the coast, so got to go back home and check that out.
Did you go do any gambling?
No, man, I ain't trying to go into casinos with all them people like that. I mean, I'm not trying to hurt any industry who needs people around, but I have a person like today, somebody that works for me might have corona, and then some family members that actually have corona. One's in ICU, so I mean, you know, prayers for her. But I mean, it's, you know, that spike is definitely affected.
You're officially the closest person to me I know that's had somebody affected.
Yeah,
because it's been kind of around, but not that close.
This is like, you know, here in my central Alabama area, so yeah, it's big spike. I'll say that. So yeah, I'm not trying to go out in the public. I wear it like the other day. I went in, you know, I was down there and I had my white. I have like a white hoo rag. It's like a white paisley one. It's like a, you know, some kind of white gang or something. I don't know. And
I wear my power pole buff like everywhere.
I wear it, but that one was like, I think it looks especially menacing. So people see it and they're like, "Oh, dude, he's about to."
I have the ones with skulls and stuff on it. I didn't want to be that guy.
Yeah, don't be that guy.
Don't be that guy.
Paisley is on the border. I don't know about that one. Yeah, thanks everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Or if you're listening to us tomorrow, the next day, or any other time, yeah, thanks for being a listener. And tonight we're going to have on two great guests, two of the best in the business. So if you have any questions, let us know. Just ask. And already we got Justin Staley saying what's up, and Chris Johnch. Yo, Dayton is here, Ohio in the house. So we got one of them Ohio guys in here. So here we go.
I'm sure we're gonna get some Tennessee boys in here for too much longer.
Yeah, for sure.
I've seen a bunch of them talking about coming on.
So without further ado, the two of the best anglers in the country, and they're here to talk about how they prepare for tournaments, Mr. Craig Dye and Kurt Smits. Thanks, guys, for being on show. Welcome.
Hey, guys.
And Kurt's dealing with some internet issues. I know I've got a storm here, so if I lag, it is what it is. You know, it's the internet. It's tough sometimes.
If it's clear, y'all just have to listen to my voice.
Yeah.
I will still be here.
And Craig's locked up now, so we'll take turns.
He's got that's like the perfect picture. He was like serious.
I'll stone face somebody. It is what it is, man. It's the internet. And if it gets too bad, we'll kind of just, if you drop your actual picture and you just do audio, if we have to go that way, we will. But yeah, let's get started. So if people don't know who you are, they're living under a rock, they're just getting into kayak fishing. We'll start with you, Kurt. Kurt Smith, tell us who you are, man.
You know, I'm here 2017 KBF national champion. I'm one of the guys who just like Craig does, hit a lot of the bigger national level tournaments. Been doing it pretty hardcore since 2017, and you know, just like to help people out when I can. You know, I feel like when I first started, there wasn't a lot of people to ask questions from. So any chance I get to kind of give back, you know, and help out the newer guys, like you said, someone who's just getting into the sport. I mean, because the sport is growing like crazy right now.
Yeah,
definitely.
I mean, if you look at kayak sales, it's like growing exponentially right now. They nowhere can keep them in stock.
We were just talking about that, how you can't get a boat anywhere.
Yeah, and it's just amazing at the local tournaments. Even the small ones now are like 50 people.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, not that long ago, I'm talking like 3 or 4 years ago. I mean, a small one would be like 12 people from where I'm at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now it's like you don't see much under 50 people anymore.
Every week we do our, you know, at the end of the show, we talk about all the tournaments that happen, and we have to limit it to tournaments of 30 people or more. And every week that number is growing. So eventually we're going to have to even, you know, do it up higher. And we want to get everybody on the show and talk about all the tournaments out there. But man, it's tough to do. And there's Craig right there. There you go.
There he is.
So Craig, if somebody doesn't know who you are, tell them about yourself. Tell them how you got into kayak fishing and all that good stuff. Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. All right. So there's a little delay. So I'm trying to work it out.
Okay. Yeah, you're good. So tell us about somebody who doesn't know who you are. Tell us about yourself and how you got into kayak fishing.
Might have to cut.
I'm losing you guys. It's not coming in.
Yeah.
Hey, cut your video off, Craig.
Yeah. Can you go ahead and message the group? We'll do it that way.
I got it.
Well, I'll tell you who Craig Dye is. He's one of the biggest sticks in the country that you fear when you see him at a tournament. You know, when you see his name pop up, you know right there's another guy who's going to be in one of the top spots.
Yeah. Co-champion of the 10. I mean, he's one of those people who's been in the game for a long time, one of the most respected, one of the, somebody who's been around, everybody knows his name, somebody who knows that he's going to do, he's a man with integrity, and somebody, if you see him on the water, he's going, he's good chance he's going to take your money. So, yeah,
I heard his name in 2016, and that was before there were a lot of podcasts to really know who was there. I mean, Craig's, he's kind of like a legend in the sport, really.
He honestly was one of the first names I ever, when I was like coming up in kayak fishing, you know the ones from like YouTube and stuff, but Craig was like the first name that I like heard, because and then he came down to one of our demo days and did a seminar, and I was like, dude, this dude's pretty serious, and that just like made me look into tournament kayak fishing more, and then realize that there's hammers everywhere that are making a living doing this.
Yeah. And let's not sell you short here, Kurt. Right now you're winning you're in the lead for Angler of the Year of Hobie. See that big Hobie check in the back? And I think we got Craig here just without the video this time. You there, Craig?
Yeah, way better. Now I can hear everybody.
Good.
Hey.
Maybe we can try the video here in just a little bit. So
we've done told everybody who you are, so you're good. You can just sit and listen now.
Anything else you want to say? Yeah, anything else you want to say?
That good, huh?
Yeah. You there, Craig?
It's super choppy, guys. I apologize. I can't understand it.
No, it's okay, man. It's there, and sometimes it's difficult. If you can hear us, give us a little rundown of who you are. If there's anything you want to tell everybody.
Well, really, I've been kayak fishing for a long time. I started back in the day when Chad Hoover pretty much started KBF with the Opens. Back man, I don't know how many years, 6, 7, 8 years, something like that now. And I just I can't get away from it. You think you would kind of move on to something else, but it's so addicting. The tournaments they never get old. Catching a big fish tournament is the most exciting thing. I mean, that's why we all do it. That's why a lot of us do it, at least. And for me, it's just, even having 2 young boys, I find a way to get out there and do it. But pretty much I started back when Chad started, met him, when Hook One got started in Nashville, and started a club in Nashville called a Kayak Bass Fishing TN. A lot of folks have heard of it. Awesome club in Nashville. Back to Georgia, just doing my thing, and I can't get enough.
Gotcha. Well, we got most of that there, a little bit broken up, but we got 90% of it. So yeah, let's just get right to it tonight. Why we wanted to have you two guys on, because not only have you been doing it for a long time, but you've been doing it and been very successful at it. So I think both me and Jimmy, honestly, and a lot of people out there, there's a lot that we can learn from y'all. So I'll start with the first question. And so like right now, Kurt, I know you're looking at lacrosse. You're going to be fishing the Hobie tournament up there, and God bless you. I wish I could go with you. Like I just want to hitch a ride. I want to go fishing up there so bad. But so what have you been doing to get ready for that tournament?
It takes me a few days to actually get ready for the tournament, more than a few days. I mean, I do a ton of research, I spend a lot of time looking at Google Earth, looking at Navionics, looking at different online resources trying to get a feel for this area because I've never been there, so I don't really know anything about it. I've never even seen the water. I've never even driven over the area or anything. So, it's another completely new water system to me, and it's very different than the tournaments I've done this year or any other year, really. It's the Mississippi River. I mean, it's like the biggest river in the U.S., right?
Yeah.
It's a different beast altogether. So I'm really excited to go. It's a bucket list place to go because I've been reading about it, hearing about it. You watch the pros go there and just, I mean.
Like you want to have that day like Edwin and just find that mega school, that one spot that, it's just life-changing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, you hope to find that spot, right? You hope. So that's where I start at, right? And that's where I start at, and then I move into the phase as it gets closer to like actually packing. Going through all my lures that I think I'm going to use. This is what I do every tournament. I end up going through all my lures. I try to go through just the ones I think I'm going to use, but I end up like reorganizing everything again. And on my Hobie, I got a couple, you got a square hatch on the floor, and you got a bin. I have a bin box on the side, and those things just get full of discarded lures, wrappers, whatever, man. So I just end up taking all that stuff out, and I wipe the insides down. I just clean everything. I mean, it's become like a ritual to me to like go through my kayak and reorganize everything.
Put it up.
Yeah, it gets me in the right mood because I feel like when I get all that stuff done, that I have confidence that I'm taking all the baits that I need to take. I got all the hooks I need. I got all the line I need. It's just become like a ritual, and honestly, I'm leaving tomorrow, so my car's packed right now for lacrosse. I'll be leaving early in the morning, so buying a bunch of Coke and ice. I mean, that's like, I know when I buy the bag of ice that I'm done.
It's go time.
It's go time, man.
You're leaving in the morning.
Yep.
Wow. Well, we extra appreciate you being on the show tonight. Hopefully, we're not taking messing up your game there. Away from anything.
But if he wins, we can say it was because he was here. So
yeah,
that's right.
I kind of have the same approach, like in between like tournament fishing and like if there's going to be a big gap when I get to fish. I thought it was kind of weird at first, but I do the same thing. I kind of take everything back, organize it back in the house in all of the individual containers because I have like a big, I use lots of different tubs for different kind of lures and stuff like that. And then I go back when I'm getting ready to fish, and that I pick out exactly what I need. But like you said, I know for sure I have it at that point. And it's also like a way I can kind of keep inventory, like, oh, out of this hook, out of that worm, etc.
That's exactly right. Because I mean, I can't remember what I'm using because I use a variety of stuff. Especially when there's a gap between tournaments, I use a wide variety of stuff. I'm constantly trying to use stuff that I normally don't throw. So I'm always running out of stuff, like whether it be a drop shot hook or a Nico rig weight or, a 1/4 ounce tungsten or whatever, And having that confidence when you're driving there, I don't know about you guys, but I'm in a car for like 8-9 hours. I just start thinking about all the stuff I left behind or I could have left behind.
That's right.
I used to think like that, and now it's like I know I left something behind, and I'll figure it out when I get there. And then when that happens, you're like, "See, told you, I knew I left something."
Yeah, exactly.
Time to go to the store.
and just preparing for your show. I mean, I obviously follow both y'all on social media all the time, but I went back and looked at some of your stuff, like that trailer that you made. If anybody has a utility trailer and wants to see a great way to do it with where it lifts up, I thought that was awesome. You kind of sold me on that 1/4 ounce Picasso ball head because that's something I'm not very good at, like a small swim bait. That's something that I've kind of gotten into spy baits and stuff like that, but that small swim bait, that's still definitely a little gap in my game and something I want to get on. So you sold me on that. So Picasso, there you go. Your man selling some stuff because I'm gonna get some of them myself. But Craig, how do you go to get into to get ready for a tournament?
Oh man, well, that's such it's hard to answer sometimes because there's so many. You have close tournaments, you have tournaments where you have to travel a long way, so there's kind of a lot involved there. But for me, is this little room I'm in. I know my camera's off, but I'm in a small little room that I have off the side of my garage. And basically, after every tournament, after fishing for fun around the house, the top of my workbench is completely full of boxes and lures and fishing line. And basically, I just take everything out and I just reorganize everything and put it all back in. And it kind of gets your mind right. You know exactly what tackle you have. You know what you need to go buy, and it just really kind of get your mind ready for a tournament. So you're pretty much ready for anything. So tackle wise, that's what I do. I'm not a big boat cleaner and clean my boat a lot. I just if it's dirty, it's dirty. I just load it up and go. But I'm also big on I change my line a lot. I throw a lot of crankbaits. I throw a lot of moving baits, and I actually throw a lot of monofilament line, which some folks don't really believe in monofilament as much anymore. But with cranking, I love throwing 10 and 12 pound mono. But with mono, I change it a lot. So I change all for a big change all the line on all my spinnerbait rods and all my crankbait rods. So but then for gear, it's not I can usually do everything in about a night. Not a big deal. But yeah, that's really about it. If you're talking about tournament prep and looking at this, we can get it a little bit later. But for my gear, 3 or 4 hours, I'm pretty ready to go.
So like Kurt, you kind of do the Google Earth, the Navionics. I know you're with Ray Marine. You look on their maps and on your graph as well to kind of check some stuff out?
We got you, Kurt.
Oh, you're talking to me?
Craig. No, Craig. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I thought he said Kurt, so I was looking at Kurt.
I'm sorry. Okay, so Kurt. Well, here's a question from Steve. Oh, we lost Craig there. Just problems. He'll probably be able to get back in here in just a little bit. Talking about that single swim bait. Steve Owens, the man, the legend. He are you swimming it or slow rolling it? How do you work that swim bait? And you work it with the small kayak usually, right?
Yep. Mostly with this. I'm a big fan of kayak lures, and man, they're small swim baits. The profile on them, they just nail it for so many different bait fish. And I use it different ways. I'll slow roll it, I'll burn it, I'll hop it. The fish really have to tell me. And this is where, part of tournament prep becomes pre-fishing, right? Because I know I'm going to throw that bait at some point in time, especially on fisheries where the bass aren't as big. If it's a spotted bass fishery, I hear like the Mississippi, and I've never been there, so I don't know yet. But what I hear is that it's full of those mid-range fish, So I'll, generally speaking, I'll throw something that's like 3 inches to 4 inches long for those type of fish, And that's where that Kitech tungsten ball head comes in, because that's a little bit smaller profile. It's designed for smaller baits. And I let the fish have to tell me, it's hard to say, exactly how I will fish it during a tournament.
And whenever I looked it up on Tackle Warehouse, they had 3 different sizes, and the one that you talked about was a 1/4 ounce. And that's the heaviest of the 3. Is that kind of your go-to, the 1/4?
Yeah, 1/4 is my go-to. I will throw the 1/8 ounce once in a while, but man, for whatever reason, man, I just keyed in on 1/4 ounce, man. Whether it's 1/4 ounce tungsten, or if it's 1/4 ounce round-headed swim baits, I'm just, for whatever reason, 1/4 ounce is really.
I'm same way. Drop shot weights, shaky heads. I'm into 1/4 ounce. I don't, a lot of people throw a lighter. It's just, just my thing.
Yeah.
All
right, Craig's trying to get back in. He's messaging me. But so I'm wanting to know, and you kind of mentioned it before. So with map study, just kind of tell us how you approach your map study, and then a lot of people have a question. I hear it all the time: is how do you break down new water? So this is perfect because you've never been there. So kind of tell me how you would break it down on the water, but start with how you do it on the map study.
And maybe you can tell us about Norman. You won that. Maybe you can tell. I don't want. We don't obviously don't want you to give away lacrosse. And,
Oh no, yeah, don't give away
what you're targeting. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, yeah, let's use Norman as example, really. So on Norman, before I do my app study, I try to learn about the lake. What the bait fish are, what's going on that time of year there, what type of black bass species they have. And on Norman, it kind of came up that we were looking at good chances that we would be like kind of during the spawn some places, pre-spawn too. I mean, it kind of looked like we were more towards the pre-spawn. And one of the things I saw there for the spotted bass was I saw over and over was people talking about points, right?
Yeah.
So what I try to do is I found these big coves that were like main lakes. And I found a place that had 3 or 4 giant points that came out. And that's one of the places I started. And it was actually one of the first places that stood out to me doing the map research after I decided, okay, I need to look for main lake points. Because these things went from like 1 foot down to like 30 feet. And they came way out into the water. These weren't subtle points. These were like, you could see them plain as day on any map. As a matter of fact, 2 of the points actually had signs on them saying shoals to warn boaters that the water goes to like a foot deep right there.
Okay.
And and so here's where a little bit of luck comes into it. Well, luckily, that's exactly what was happening. In the area I was in, it was pre-spawn. The fish hadn't hit the beds real heavy yet. There were a few fish on beds, but they were moving in, and that was a perfect transition area. They were coming up. They were sitting on those points and feeding in the morning, and then they'd kind of disperse as the day went on and kind of move out to the docks and the other structure that was around there. And that's how I broke it down. So, first I found out what I was looking for. Then I went to the map and looked for that. And it doesn't always work out, man. You know what I mean? Because sometimes you think they're going to be in such and such pattern from doing your research, and then you look for it, and then you get to there and you do pre-fishing, you find out, well, they're on a totally different part of the site. But this time, if you do your research, and luckily there was a lot of people posting up about Norman, so I could, I had a good feel for what was going on at Norman. Like you could just, see fishing report, and people were already talking about how they were just starting to hit the beds, and Norman has, the lake fish is different from north to south too, right? There's the warm water discharge. There's lots of things going on there, so there's different ways to approach it. But that's exactly what I do. I try to find something with my internet research to look for, and then I look for it.
So let's say you're sitting doing your study, and points is your thing with like a long, very dominant point. Let's say you find like 4 different areas. How do you go about narrowing down which one you would want to make your primary area? Or is that just like a shoot in the hat thing? Like, well, try this one first.
Yeah, pretty much. And what I look for is places that I feel like I can do more fishing than just that. So I look for a place that has 3 points or 4 points that come out that I can fish in one area. And then I also see that there's a bunch of docks and a couple flats.
Something to kind of fall back on if that first pattern flops.
Exactly. Because you never know, man. You might get there, and the week before they were pre-spawn, and they might be full-blown spawn. So you want to be able to move up to those flats and find out when you're pre-fishing. And it is kind of just throwing the dart at it too a little bit. If you find 3 areas that look super juicy, you just pick one for pre-fishing, and then you hit another one the next day, and you hit another one the next day. But if you can find 3 juicy spots, that's really good. And I find 3 spots you're comfortable with.
If it's tough to do, but if you can, I think that's kind of the tournaments that it seems I've always done poorest is whenever I don't have that plan B or plan C, and sometimes you can't always do that, and maybe you don't have the time to practice. You just can't find anything else. Like Seminole, you got what, 3rd at Seminole, and we had you on then. We were in the same area. You killed it, and I absolutely flopped. I'm super embarrassed to that one. But but some having those fallback places, because sometimes you get out there tournament morning and things have went to hell, and you gotta just scrape something up.
Yeah, a lot of the time I can't get out of my mindset when I've been pretty good at picking areas, but when it's going terrible and my plan's not working, I'm too stubborn sometimes to fall back to that fallback. I'm like, no, this is going to eventually turn on, and it never does. So that's just how that goes.
But sometimes you have to sit there and grind a spot out and not catch fish for hours, man.
Yeah.
Sometimes that is the deal, though. It's hard to make that choice on like when I should leave this spot, because you caught, there's a reason you're there to begin with, right? You caught fish there probably, and when you should stay. That's a tough call, man. And I've done that too. I've sat in spots and they never turned on, and then I've also left those spots and then talked to my buddy later on who ended up doing really well there because it did turn on, but I left, right? You know what I mean? And literally, dude, come back, and I'm like, well, too late now. I'm gone.
Yeah, a lot of tournaments, that's kind of the choice. Like, I think you always hear people ask, do you have that hard, fast rule of, let's say, 20, 30 minutes? If I don't get a bite, then you move. But, man, it seems like every tournament's so different. It's hard to have a set rule of, if I don't get a bite, I'm moving, and this time, and that's just my rule. I'm going to come back later. Sometimes you got to sit there and grind, and,
Yeah, I mean, I can't have a hard, fast rule like that because, like you said, every tournament is just so different from one another. I mean, let's face it, Norman and the Mississippi, can you get any more different?
Yeah.
All right.
Deep, shallow, grassy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's just going to be dramatically different. So, yeah, that's and that's one of the things that's so intriguing about tournament fishing too. I find is that you have to make those hard decisions. That's kind of a lot of times what separates the guys who are doing well and who aren't doing well is that they're making those good calls.
And it always seems to me like you kind of, maybe whenever you get out on the water, maybe it's different, but you always come across as somebody who's more in tune, zen, like you're going to follow your gut and follow your instincts and move. Like you wouldn't be a rule guy. You would be somebody who's going to play it as you see it and fish the moment and do what you can while you're out there.
You could describe mine versus that as like controlled chaos. It's not pretty. I try, but I'm getting there. But so you talked about like you picking your spots, you're going into pre-fishing. For you, I know it's different for everybody. Like how much time you're fishing these national level tournaments, these big tournaments.
Yeah.
How much pre-fishing do you usually do? Like how many days? Do you give yourself a week, or do you do like 2 days? That way you're kind of dialed in on how they are right while you're there.
Well, it's tough. I try to get as much as I can, but I mean, I'll be honest, man. I'm kind of a homebody. I'm not like the biggest guy for traveling really long distances. So, I don't like to pre-fish too much just because I like to be home. I like to be around my dogs, my wife, and my friends. But at the same time, I like to get enough experience on a lake and try to get as much as I can. So like I'm gonna leave. I normally would leave on a Wednesday. I try to get like 3 days of pre-fishing. Leave Wednesday, get like half a day in, and 2 full days of pre-fishing. For La Crosse, since it's a much bigger area, because we got pool 7, 8, 9, so it's a huge area.
Different states, like all over.
Oh yeah. I mean, it literally is 3 states. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna go up on. I'm leaving on Tuesday, and I should be able to get about 3 or 4 hours in on tomorrow, and then I'll have 3 full days of pre-fishing in. I have no hard and fast rule. I mean, I look at my schedule and what's going on and what I can work out.
And I can understand it, like saying on a big body of water like that. I saw Steve Owens comment that
on you out, man. He said dogs and then wife.
But love you, Steve.
Thanks.
But big body of water out like that and being able to fish so much area, I could definitely see like the more time. But for like a tournament that's kind of local to me, I don't give myself that much time to pre-fish because I feel like it's either going to go good or I'm going to wear myself down mentally before the tournament. Like if I've got 2 bad days of pre-fishing, come tournament day, I'm just kind of like, well, whatever. Like, and then your mind's wrong and your positive mental attitude's gone, and it just doesn't ever end well like that. So,
yeah, I mean, having that positive mental attitude is massive, man. Honestly, that's the single biggest thing I think you can do to be a successful tournament angler is just having that positive attitude.
100% agree. Yeah.
I've definitely done a lot better.
There is a thing about pre-fishing too much, right?
Yeah.
Because then you get sidetracked.
Yeah.
And you find a bite a week before it, and then you kind of get sidetracked, and maybe you never get back to check that bite if it's still happening a week later. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then you rely on that one good day you had on that Monday, and now it's Sunday. So pre-fishing is tricky, man. It really is. And honestly, some of the tournaments I did best at, I thought I had a solid place, but not the winning place. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, you just don't know.
And so going back to gear, we know you're on the Hobie team. You have that PA 360, PA 14, right?
Yep, PA 14, yep.
So the 2 train of thoughts are less gear, less rods, more nimble, a little quicker, just stand to your strengths in tournament day. You're not that guy, though, are you?
No, I'm not that guy at all, man. I bring 7 rods minimum.
Okay.
I mean, that's minimum. And sometimes I bring more, but it's usually 7 rods. I end up using 2, but I never know which 2, honestly, And honestly, 7 rods may sound like a lot to some people, but most tournaments I go to, I legitimately feel like I could use any one of those 7 rods during the tournament. So let's go back to Norman real quick, right?
Okay.
So at Norman, I did catch one of my better fish throwing an A-rig, right?
Mm-hmm.
I never throw an A-rig.
And that's
I happen to have a rod that could do it. Yeah. And I happen to have one A-rig buried in my kayak and just how I saw how the fish were chasing small schools of bait made me want to tie one on. And that got one of my fish, right? So if I didn't bring all my garbage that I bring, right, because I wasn't planning on throwing an A-rig at all. I never threw an A-rig. But something just struck me when I saw it on my fish finder. I saw what the fish were doing, and I'm like, man, that's just an A-rig setup. And man, I tied that on first cast. I had a fish.
I've never had that. I've never said that's an A-rig fish right there.
Dude, I say it all the time. I just don't ever catch one.
I call it on that dang thing. I've never done well with it, but that's why you're cashing checks, because you pull something out of the bottom of the box, and you and John, I forget his last name, who won the Logan Martin again on for Bassman. Yeah, he pulled a spy bait he's never even thrown before out of the box. Like, so you can definitely say that's 2 tournaments this year that have been won that somebody pulled something that wasn't tied on in the bottom of the boat and won the tournament with. Connecting dots. I don't know.
For anybody getting into this, bring everything you have. You just might need it.
Don't sink your boat. You did not hear that on Paddling Fin. Don't carry too much.
Well, that's why I have to use a PA 14.
Yeah.
Because I bring so much stuff.
See that? So, I do a lot of river fishing, and like last year it was all about downsize. 3 or 4 rods, 1 or 2 tackle boxes. You can make the day with that. Got my Frontier 12 this year, and was like, man, I'm just going to load this thing down. So now I carry 7 or 8 rods. I've got like 8 tackle boxes with me, 2 leather bags of plastics, and I don't know what I'm doing now. Like, completely opposite from last year.
Steve, another great question. How do you condition yourself, or how do you not leave that spot? Like you said, we had you on the show. It was a rocky. You found a rocky area that there was no other rocks in that area. I damn sure didn't find any rocks in that area at that launch. So you found one rocky area. How did you grind it out in that area for so long, and you end up in third? What?
I never grounded out in an area. right?
Oh, okay.
I started each day off junk fishing, and I found those, and I had a couple main lake humps that had some rocks on them that didn't have any vegetation that I checked each day. And day one, I checked them twice, and it was a haul to get out there to check them because you have to make like a milk run there. You know what I mean? I wasn't finding a spot that held all my fish. I would have to fish everything, basically junk fishing a big giant area of docks and trees and whatever, PVC. I caught fish off of PVC. So I never really grounded out anywhere in that event. So I mean, it was just one of those things where I went out to those mid-length hooks and they were there, man. They were biting. And honestly, at that event, I was having troubles uploading pictures big time. I don't know why, especially on day two. Day one, I was able to upload the same area. The day two, I just couldn't. So I actually got off the water a couple hours early just to make sure I got back, got the stuff loaded up. So I never really had a chance to grind out those areas. But to answer Steve's question, man, it's hard to know, man. That's one of those things I just leave it up to my gut feeling when I'm out there. If I feel like it's just not happening, I'll move. But if I feel like, hey, I just got to figure out the bait or figure out the color, I'll stay and grind it out. That's also that philosophy has served me well. And it's also, it's a double-edged sword, I mean, that to me, I feel like
get you just as fast as it'll bless you.
I'm sorry.
I said it'll get you just as fast as it'll bless you for sure.
Yeah.
I've been able to sit on a spot and make a few changes and get that fish or get those fish, and then there's days that I know they're just staring at me like, "Will you just go on? Like, we're not coming." But
kind of one of the other big questions besides timing of, do you stay, do you go, do you move, do you come back? That's one of the big questions. The other big questions is are you deciding where to start, and how do you decide? Are you going for bigs? Are you going for the kickers first, or are you going for limit first? How is that decision?
Or are you just throwing and hoping?
Are you just always big five and everything else be damned? I'm getting them bigs and that's it.
I'll be honest with you, that's normally how I go, man.
Really?
I normally just say, especially at these national level tournaments, I just feel like if you play conservative, you're not going to be able to get the win. You got to swing for the fence. You got to hope you make contact with the ball. Because if you don't swing for that fence, you're never going to make it over that fence, man.
Yeah.
I just feel like at these, and let's face it, these guys are so competitive at all these tournaments, man, that any one of them could win. There's such good sticks happening in the kayak field right now that any one of these guys could win. So I just go in and I'm swinging for the fence. Now, do I always catch my 5 fish big early? No. Sometimes I'm grinding it out just to get my 5th. Sometimes I don't get my 5th. I do think that it helps to have 5 early, no matter what their size is, just to have your limit, because I feel like that takes some of that mental pressure off you, so you can then you kind of relax and then you're just fishing. You're not thinking about where's that 5th or where's the 1st. You're just fishing that.
And that's for me, that's definitely true, because it goes from there's Craigery.
We got Craig.
Craig's
All right. Well, man, we'll have you on another time too. That's just the way this stuff goes sometimes.
It's terrible.
Yeah, it is. It looks like you have a beautiful home there, though. Congratulations on your success in life.
Well, I'd rather be in the little shop area with all the fishing stuff. So
I dig your shop too, man. I've seen that on videos, and like the Ray Marine video doing a giveaway. I'm like, man, I gotta set that up back here. Like I'm crouched back here in my kid's basement, his playroom.
I'm
in
my dining room, like only place in the backdrop. So
well, it's it's really small, though. It looks a little bit bigger than what it is. It's like one side is basically I'm like right against a bunch of shelves and have a bunch of plastic totes, and the other side is the workbench where I have all my boxes and all my crankbaits hanging. All those crankbaits, they all kind of have a story, like when you throw crankbaits a lot, you kind of pick up everybody's trash, because you're always dragging the bottom and cooking stuff. So I just anytime I catch something, I just try to keep it. I don't know why. I just throw it all away.
So we'll ask you a question that we just asked Kurt. Are you go big 5, go big in the morning, go for a limit? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, man, it's different every tournament. I love fishing for bites, and sometimes I just like to play the game of, okay, there's a lot of bait here. I got a lot of bites here. I can make the most out of that spot. Surely there's some big fish around, but I love getting bites early and finding spots where there's a lot of fish where I can go get a limit and have 5 and then go chase a big one for the rest of the day. I have no problem throwing a jig for 5 hours or 4 hours. I have no problem doing that. But I know some guys, all they do is go for big ones, and sometimes I should probably do that more. But, man, I've always been a person to fish for bites. Sometimes it gets me in trouble, but, man, I just love having 5, no matter if it's, 200 of the best guys in the country. Like Lake Seminole, I caught 9 fish and got, in the top 5. So, I mean, that was a tough tournament, man. That was one of
I forgot y'all were both top 5 in that.
Yeah.
We're having a Seminole show 6 months later.
That was a crazy tournament. I just kept searching for spots, and I found where I was way up on the Chattahoochee, found where a nice clear creek was coming in, and the fish were just stacked up there, and I got lucky to get bites early in the morning and kind of, capitalize on that.
And, definitely for, like, we were talking about the positive mental attitude. To me and for me, going for the bites, because, like, even if it's a tiny limit, once you get the limit, your mood changes. Like, I don't care if I've got 3, 12, 5, 12 inch fish. As soon as I'm done with that, my whole attitude changes. And like you said, Craig, I don't mind throwing a jig all the rest of the day or a drop shot, or it's once I get those fish in the boat, I'm fine.
Yeah, it's something about it. Even though if you're in like 80th place, but you got 5,
Yeah.
So, I mean, one good thing about a lot of the tournaments, it's about half or more that do not get a limit.
Right.
So if you go look at almost every tournament, it's usually around half, so once you get a limit, you just feel a little better. If you upgrade maybe 2 or 3 fish, you're maybe on the cut line or, getting some cash. And then if you get some big ones, man, you're moving way up quick.
So Kurt,
go ahead.
To go back to you, not to try and get in your head here, since you said that you go big fish, and right now you're leading angler of the year for Hobie. I know you're a Hobie guy, but they do have that awesome not orange boat that you would be the only one with that orange Hobie. Is your kind of mind, or are you changing your strategy now that you're leading angler of the year?
No, not at all, man. Not at all. I'm honestly, I try not to think about that. I think about it too much as it is, but I'm trying not to have that influence any of the things that I'm doing for tournament, getting ready for the tournaments and doing the tournaments. I mean, just take them one at a time and just do what I do and hope for the best. I mean, that's all you can really do.
That's right.
Heck yeah. Well, I was going to give Craig a second to just step back real quick and talk about, we talked about like map study and finding spots, and, Kurt hit it really good, but Craig, just kind of how do you go about finding your spots or breaking down new water when you're prepping for your tournament?
Yeah, I was listening to Kurt and taking notes as I was trying to get my computer up. So, the guy killed the man. For me, I have and Kurt might be the same, but when it comes to tournament fishing, I'm mostly a loner type guy. I don't like fishing with 3 or 4 guys. I don't like talking to 3 or 4 guys. I might ask 1 or 2 guys maybe what they're doing, but for example, the Tennessee State Championship that I won on Center Hill, I went 2 weeks before the tournament and camped for 3 days alone and just tried to figure that lake out, because I didn't know anything about that lake. I mean, I knew some stuff, and I saw like one major league fishing event, on that lake. So I'm big on going alone and figuring it out myself and not talking to a bunch of people and doing too much research. And like Kurt said earlier, too much pre-fishing can definitely get you in trouble. Because we're all, we have a lot of experience. We can catch fish in a lot of different conditions, and we can probably catch fish shallow. We can catch them deep. We can probably catch them how we want to catch them, and it'll lead you down a path that we've all kind of gone down before, either caught like a 4 or 5 pounder and said, that's what I'm going to do. And then you just it wasn't the right path. So
train wreck.
Yeah. So for me, the ideal thing is 2 weeks before the tournament or so, with my work schedule and kids, I like to go for a weekend, 2 days, learn the lake, get, just kind of figure it out, kind of get the lay of the land per se. And then, and then maybe 2 days before the actual event, fish 2 days before, and then really get it dialed in on what's happening, at that time when you're there. Because a lot can change as, the wind can change direction and the bite you're on can, just completely stop. So, 2 days, maybe a couple weeks before, learning the lake, and then 2 days right before the tournament is ideal for me. Okay.
So, Kurt, that's a big question. Doc talk. Who are you talking to? Some people like I fished with other people, and they are the best social anglers. Like whenever I went back to school and fished in college, like my buddy Joseph, he texted me at night about something. That guy was the best he knew everybody who was fishing that tournament, and he knew what everybody was doing or what, and that's kind of my problem. Like, I don't know if they're telling you is the truth. So I never know, but he loved that information. And I'm more Craig, where I don't like all that, maybe a little bit, maybe like your one or two friends, but yeah. I don't like that information. Kurt, how about you?
I'm not real big at reaching out to a lot of people, man. I do have like kind of a group of friends that will bounce ideas off of each other and stuff. But I'm not like, let's call up 80 people and try to figure out what they're doing. You know what I mean? That's not really my style. I fish a little differently than most people too. So a lot of times, or you isn't going to work for me because I fish a little different. You know what I mean? I won't get the same results sometimes. So, I mean, there are a couple of people I do, and of course, when I'm staying in a house full of guys, every night, everyone's kind of swapping, stories on what they're doing and stuff. But, I don't really reach out to a lot of people besides like looking online and doing the initial research. Once I get down there, I'm just focusing on fishing.
And let's be honest, the people y'all are texting about fishing a tournament are not scrubs. They're not usually not going to be people at the bottom of the leaderboard. These are people who you can trust and people that are legit. The information that you're getting is probably better than some of the information I've gotten in the past. that might be a little bit different too.
I'm kind of that way. I'll bounce ideas off a couple of people, but it'll be people that fish the same way as I do. Yeah. And then, but on tournament day, I'm not going to like loan out. Like if you want to go fish, I don't care. If you ain't got a good plan, come on, you'll probably beat me. Let's go. Craig didn't say much about it, but I know that he's really good at map study. And I figured that out on Logan Martin because I do a lot of map work. And even if it's just like looking for launch areas. And I caught up with him at the Logan Martin event, and he showed me where he was. And I don't know how I missed it, but Craig was like, if you looked at the map, he had disappeared. And I was so mad because like where he was like my style. And he's like, I'm gonna show you this, but you better not be there in the morning. And I was like, come on, man.
Well, what was cool about that spot? It was I've always been a fan of like when you look at a map, the stuff that's just the most. Just stuff you would never look at. You know what I mean? When you look at the map, like it's like way over here and you're like, nobody's ever going to see that. And then you go over there and all of a sudden there's fish there. And it might not be you're catching 5-pounders every cast, but there's nobody there. And that's what I love. I'd rather fish for less fish around less people than, maybe schools of fish and, jump into, say brush piles or humps or points that I'm fishing behind people. I can't stand that, man. Like I want to have it to myself and just try to make the most of where I'm at. And Logan Martin was cool because I got on Street View and was just going down the streets around Logan Martin because the ramps were kind of tricky. It wasn't, you just Google the ramps and they were just, here's where all the ramps were. And I just did a lot of Street View and just kind of looking, I do a lot of Street View next to lakes to kind of see what's on the bank and what the lake looks like. And that's how I found that ramp. And there was only one other guy there. And he was in the top 20 as well, with me. So it turned out good, Except for all
That's a
Me
hot
and Jimmy
tip.
are on.
Paying attention. Use Street View to see what's on the bank. I like it.
That's
Yeah.
right. Me and Jimmy, we like, I did Street View and we went and launched at this place where it was a big steep launch, dirt launch. But I think sometimes from what I've seen, that can be another level of people who are really good. They find those not only tough places to find or unpressured fish, but they find like that public land, the power company land where you can launch, where you might think it's kind of gray area, but in the rules it says you can launch there. You just don't know you can launch there. So that's going to cut a big part of the field out. So I think that research and things like that, just looking at a map, looking at graphs, things like that, that's great. But there's another level of looking at these maps and different apps that you can use for public land that a lot of other people aren't doing.
Yeah.
We won't talk about the rest of those things right now.
Yeah, and what was cool about the Logan Martin tournament is that so when I launched there in practice the day before the tournament, when I actually went and checked it, it was about 4 inches of water and you could barely get out there. And tournament day, y'all know what happened tournament day.
Yeah.
I showed up
No.
and the bite completely changed. I had a bite where there was a pinch point and there was a bunch of wind and current blowing through. And these big spots were just stacked. I was catching them on a chatterbait and on a shaky head. They were stacked. I caught like 3 in a row and I left it. I said, that's why I'm going to be here tomorrow, right? And I go there the next morning. That bite's dead. The 3 pockets that we were fishing by, every pocket had a drain in the back. So that's what I was fishing. Every pocket had a drain. So everything I did in practice the 2 weeks before all changed. And we were just fishing drains in the back, and there was, wood and, some rocks and stuff by the drains in the back, just throwing spinner baits and chatter baits. And that's how the tournament worked for us. But that's something cool about that tournament. You just never know, Yeah. You talk about positive attitude, like Kurt was talking about earlier, and you just got to stick with it, man. Got to stick with it.
Oh, definitely.
So kind of, and Kurt had kind of hit on this earlier. And is there a line of being over prepared of, you've done all the research that you just kind of want to cut it and say that's enough?
Absolutely. I'm big on not pre-fishing too much because, like I mentioned earlier,
The weekend before, yeah.
I mean, like if I fished 4 days before a tournament, like some folks do, my mind would be in 100 different directions because I do feel that you would, because we have a lot of experience, we fish a lot of different types of water. Like, when Kurt pulls up and the water is, 6 foot visibility, he knows the fish are going to be shallow. Most likely he's going to go throw a chatterbait or spinnerbait or something like that, or a jig, and probably catch him shallow. He knows, like right when he shows up, he sees a watercolor. He knows pretty much exactly what he's going to do. And if you move around the lake and try this and that, he's probably going to get bites in a lot of those places. And I really think 2 days, maybe 3 if you're really struggling. But for me, like 2 days is perfect.
And Kurt, that kind of 2-3 days deal?
Yeah. I mean, that's where I normally end up at, is 2 to 3 days.
Is there?
That's the sweet spot, right? I mean, just like Craig's saying, you don't want to go down the rabbit hole, Guys who spend 2 weeks on there, I'm just like, you spent 2 weeks looking up. I'd be like Craig, man, my head would be spinning because you're going to find 7 or 8, 10, maybe 12 different things that are going to places you're catching fish, and then you got to make a hard decision on like where to go.
They're all spread out, and yeah.
So the first tournament I fished with a club was Gunnersville, and I did a ton of map study on that, months in advance, trying to prepare, and like my head was so off and I blanked in that tournament. I ended up not fishing a place that I checked before. Like you just get so, and then I'm real bad about, like, I don't go around asking, like, like night before tournament, like, what was you doing? Where were you at? But if people are talking about it, my ears just happen to pick up on it. So then that like starts getting in my game plan. It doesn't now. It used to really bad though. Like I was, it's working for him. I'm gonna go find that too. So
and
it's easy.
That could be a bad thing of listening to advice from somebody else. Like you were saying, Kurt, you might get that advice, but it might put you out of your comfort zone of doing a kind of fishing that you're not necessarily good at or you're used to doing. And that kind of brings us to another question of, for the people that are new, is there any advice you would give them, let's say lacrosse this weekend. You're going up there, shallow, grassy, a lot of water at cover. Let's say somebody who's lives in North Carolina, or they're used to places like Lanier or Norman, Rocky Deep Lake spots, things like that. And now they're going to a type of fishery that they've never fished before. They don't even know where to start. They can look at the map, but it's all, it doesn't mean anything to them because it's completely different than their home lake or what they're used to. And somebody who's trying to get out of their comfort zone, go fish a big tournament. What kind of advice would you give them?
Just do your research first, and if you can, I like to try to find stuff that fits my strengths. So, I'm a Texas rig guy. I fish that a lot. So if I can find some place that I can throw a Texas rig, I'm going to kind of look for that type of stuff. Now, that's going to be hard to do at lacrosse, because when you look at lacrosse, man, it is just like a major river and then sloughs and backwater, just like gobs of it everywhere. Man, honestly, just try to find a spot and break it down. I mean, with big water like that, I honestly try to focus on one area.
Yeah.
Like I'll spend 2 days in one area just trying to figure out one area. I'm not going to try to go to pool 7 and pool 8 and pool 9. I'm going to go to just pool 7 or just pool 8. And I'm just going to concentrate on that one pool and break it down and try to put something together there. There's no easy answer for that. You know what I mean? There's no easy answer saying, what do you look for and how do you pick it up some other place? I just try to always try to start with something familiar.
Right.
Yeah. Great advice. Craig?
Got you, Craig.
For me, it's all about finding the bait. Having a depth finder, just seeing bait popping around. I had a tournament where I fished with the Tennessee Valley guys, and I'm still learning Chickamauga. I don't know it very well. I probably have, 4 or 5 spots out there. But we had a tournament last year in December, and I went and pre-fished the weekend before. And I just picked a random pocket, didn't call anybody. I just said, I'm going to go fish there. It looks good on the map. I show up, there's bait everywhere. There's fish there. It's cold weather. The fish aren't, biting real, real great. But I did not catch one fish, right? But I'm confident there's fish there. And I think if I spent 8 hours there fishing, I know there's fish there around. So my mindset when I show up, it wasn't like, man, I didn't catch anything here. I know there's bait here. I got to figure out how to catch them. I ended up catching them on a square bill crankbait and a shaky head. But, I did okay. I didn't win the tournament, but I got I think a top 10 finish, that event. But it was all about, I didn't catch one fish, and I went to the same exact spot, but because I knew there was bait there and I knew there was fish there. But for me, somebody starting out new to tournament fishing, Kurt likes Texas rig. I like a Texas rig also, but I highly recommend maybe, a shallow water crankbait to cover water to find fish, and always be looking at your depth finder. As if you're sitting in that 6 to 8 feet and you're going along a bank fishing it as you go, always look for brush piles, mark brush piles, and look for bait. Even if you're fishing around riprap where it all looks the same, you can fish down riprap and not get a bite for a quarter mile, and then you have one little section where all the bait's stacked up. Throw a shaky head there, throw a crankbait, throw a jerk bait. There's fish there. So for someone new, I would say keep it simple. Shallow water crankbaits, maybe some spinner baits, shaky heads, always get bites. I mean, that's probably, a lot of money is going on a shaky. Why are you shaking your head, Jimmy? Come on,
Yeah,
man.
that is something I cannot figure out. I don't even want to talk about.
You got to, man. You got to.
I probably caught the most fish I've ever caught on a shaky head, like it percentage was.
That's gonna be like my bait going into the when I usually work on a technique throughout the winter. I'm just gonna not put it down. I'm gonna figure it out.
It's year round, man. You can throw it in anything. You throw it in 1 foot to 30 foot.
Super versatile.
Figure it out.
If anybody has any questions, we got a little bit longer, but if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. We want to get these out and shake the knowledge out of these guys. They've got so much,
So I want to go into kind of some gear stuff, just because we know Kurt takes a lot of stuff. I want to know do you have any tips for organization or a routine you do? So tournament morning, you're about to hop in the boat or load the boat full of gear. do you set this here every time, set that there every time, this box first, this bag first, anything crazy like that, or any like little tackle tips that you've found that help you tournament day?
Yeah, I definitely have like a set routine, you know what I mean? Like where my net goes, it always goes in the same place. And some of these things are things you just have to figure out for yourself. But like I like to keep super organized. So like at my terminal tackle box, everything is labeled. All my EWG hooks are together, all my shaky head hooks are together, everything's labeled by size of hook, everything I can clearly see on there. So when it comes to tournament morning or during the tournament, when you break off or you feel like you have to switch something, you're not rummaging around and digging in a bag for stuff. I go right to where my shaky heads are, right? I go right to it. I go right to the bag of my 3/16ths. And then I have two of those and everything's marked. So I know exactly what I'm grabbing. I'm tying it on really quick. And the other thing I think that helps is like, if you get a couple of days of pre-fishing, you're going to have a good idea what you're going to throw. So I set up a tournament day bag that's just the stuff I think I'm going to throw in the tournament. I bring everything else too, but I have a bag that will have the soft plastics in there that I think I'm going to use for that day.
Yeah.
Just handy, you know what I mean? That I can keep on the deck of my boat.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I've done like a day box kind of deal like you would on a boat. And I keep it kind of like under my seat, same way that I know this is what I'm going to be using first. That way it's just one less movement to turn around or lean over or something like that. What about you, Craig?
I'm a little bit different from Kurt. I don't carry a lot. I have 7 boxes. I think it's 6 or 7. It's, I got square bills, shallow crankbaits, deep crankbaits, jigs, weights, hooks, and top water and blades. Anything with a blade. That's my 7 boxes that I carry, and I carry a bag of soft plastics. I usually maybe 2 bags. I've never been. Maybe I should start carrying more gear after listening to Kurt. Always ready to go, but I've never been I carry maybe 6 rods at the most. I mean, I know Kurt's 7 minimum. I heard him say that earlier. It's just everybody has their style. Everybody's different, and I just really keep when it comes to colors, I'm not crazy with colors. I'm crankbaits, white, chartreuse, and a crawfish. That's really all I got. For worms, it's green pumpkin or brown or black and blue. Same thing for jigs. I mean, I just keep simple colors, and for me, it's really everybody's different. But for me, it's about where you put that lure and how you present it, not necessarily what it looks like or what color. But also, you got to be prepared. For your shaky heads, I have 3 different sizes. I have everything I need, but I just fish a little bit different. That's all.
And maybe that goes back, if you're trying to fish the less pressured fish, that works great for you because you don't need as many colors for less pressured fish. Kurtz, if you're fishing more drops, things like humps, offshore, things like that with a Texas rig, those fish see a lot of bait, so you carry more stuff, more colors, and these things go. Kurt has the little bit bigger, wider, more. I don't want to say more capacity, but Craig has that fast leak pursuit, nimble kind of thing, and Kurt's the other way where he's bigger, more gear. So it's funny how separate y'all are and how both of them have worked so well.
Yeah, if I got in Kurt's boat, I'd be lost. I just wouldn't even.
Well, it's really good to show you just like what's going on with fishing right now, man. We got so many people that are doing well, doing so many different things.
Yeah.
And people are so proficient at what they do and what they're good at.
And there's huge differences. Like when I had my pursuit, I'm more like Kurt, but in the pursuit, you'd have been lost because I would have had, 6 or 8 rods laying down, 2 rods behind me. I had the drawer full of tackle, terminal tackle on the dash, boxes beside you, box below you, boxes behind you.
Oh, man.
Like you can load the pursuit out, or you can do it like you did. Because I've taken it on creek trips with 2 rods and 1 box, and you can do that too. It's crazy how anybody can set it up completely different. Any boat. I'm not just talking about that boat, just period.
And here's a question. Looks like from a younger guy: spinning, casting, or both. Do you have a favorite? I mean, you probably carry both, but is there one that you prefer more than the other?
Are you talking about me?
Yeah, go ahead.
I use both. I keep 2 spinning rods at all times. I have a medium that I use. I just have a 15-pound braid, and the good thing about having the braid on there is you can put 6-pound like leader on it. You can fish super clear water, or you can. Sometimes I even throw a 15-pound braid when I'm fishing Chickamauga because you never know what you're going to hook up there. So, 15-pound braid with any size leader you need. But yeah, I always have 2 spinning rods and usually 3 or 4 bait casters.
Go ahead and get it. What kind of rods are they?
I use the St. Croix Avid X spinning rods. I love those things. They're perfect. The medium is perfect for, you can use it for drop shot. You can use it for shaky heads. You can use it for throwing finesse swim baits. I use the Strike King jig heads to 1/4 ounce a lot. And you can take a finesse worm, put it on there, use it as a shaky head. And then if the fish come up schooling or something real quick, you can just take off that worm and put on a little paddle tail swim bait, a little 3-inch swim bait, and throw it into that school with the same hook on the same everything. And so it's a quick change. Instead of grabbing another rod, I can just change my lure real quick.
Well, there's some juice for everybody.
There you go.
There you go.
I have an overlapping baits there. And Smitty, you're in the St. Croix too, right?
Yep, I'm a St. Croix fan as well. My favorite is bait caster for sure because I'm a Texas rig guy. Yeah. But I do have 2, like Craig says, I have 2 spinning rods set up ready to go. One usually has a little swim bait on it, and one usually has something like a shaky head or like a weightless fluke or something on it.
Yeah, and Christopher, if you are a younger guy and you're watching, man, work that whichever one you want. Get really good at, and then move on to the other one because they're definitely good for different things. But don't let people shame you into if you just use that, the spinning rod. You need to go at baitcaster. You can catch plenty of fish with that spinning.
They both. I mean, something I told somebody one time when they were talking about spinning. You should be throwing a baitcaster. I was like, you ever watch guys land marlin on big heavy spinning gear or stuff like that? I mean, guys land sailfish on fly rods. Like, they all catch fish. It doesn't matter. They all have their place.
All right. Since both of y'all did so good on Seminole, this is more of a personal question, I guess, because I do all that research. I spend weeks getting ready because, maybe it's having been in the military. I feel like I need to have everything in a row, everything tied on multiple times, be as prepared as I can. And then you go and you have a bad tournament and it sucks and you suck and you're like, oh, it's the worst. How do you get over that and move on to your next tournament to be ready to go for that next one? Just leave that one behind. How do you do that?
Well, it's kind of funny. I just had that happen, by the way. Kentucky Lake. So
that was tough on a lot of people, though.
Well, it was so frustrating for me because I had 1 day to pre-fish, right? That's all I had. I had 1 day, right? And Adam, I camped with Adam Reiser. You know Adam Reiser well. He fished tournaments like the weekend before that, and then 2 weeks before the tournament. So he had hours and hours on the lake, and he was dialed in, man. And he wasn't saying nothing. Okay, I mean, I was, and and if you know Adam, he's super, man. He's so smart, man. When it comes to finding fish and making them bite, he's really. If you really got time to sit down and talk to Adam Reiser about that, it's really cool, man. It's fascinating. But anyway, I had 1 day to pre-fish, and I found them, man. I found them offshore. I didn't read, I know a lot of people were struggling offshore. That wasn't really the deal, but I was catching them, man. I went out on Friday. I went to, I think, is it Leatherwood? Is that one of the main creeks? I think is what it's called. And I caught them good out there. And I caught them. I had 4 or 5 spots offshore. I got bites in all of them. And tournament day, I got a couple bites early, and then I had boats kill me, man. Boats on every spot that I had. They found what I found. They were on them. And here come the jet skis. Here come, I don't even need to say.
Not the jet skis.
But, I should have made a change earlier. It's a mistake. I knew it at 12 o'clock that I knew I should have left there. I should have done something different. Should have went back in the creek. I should have done something different. And man, it was frustrating, and I only caught 2 fish, and I actually didn't even fish the second day. I went home and hung out with the family on Sunday, and it was hard, man. That was one of the toughest drive home that I've ever had in my life, that I was like, I know I only had one day. I can only give myself so much. I put so much pressure to, do well in that tournament. With one day of pre-fishing, I probably shouldn't have done that, but it was a tough drive, man. But 2 or 3 days later, you move on. I'm already ready for the next one. I don't even think about it anymore, to be honest with you. That's what you got to do. You got to just move on. Nothing I can do about it. It was a mistake. I mean, it was, I got all excuses in the world, but I should have made a change at 10, 11 o'clock. It's that time. I just had, you feel it inside. I should have left, and I just didn't, man. I tried to grind it out around all those guys wakeboarding around me, and I should have left, and I didn't. So,
wakeboarders.
Yeah, well, I wish I was kind of with them. It was frustrating, man. I mean, good for them, man, but it was just, it was a tough day. We all have it.
That tournament, I saw more, not just you. I saw a lot of bigger name people struggle that didn't, a few of them didn't fish the second day. That was a tough tournament for everybody that you talked to.
Well, I didn't think it was tough. Like Friday, man, I was ready. I mean, I was catching big smallmouth. I was catching them on small swim bait. I caught a few on a crankbait. I had 8 brush piles marked, but the fish were sitting in them. You could see the fish. I mean, I was ready, man. Even with one day of practice, I couldn't ask for a better day of practice. I've never fished that bay or creek. I've never even been there, but I didn't want to go fish history on Barkley or Kentucky Lake, because it gets me in trouble too much. I want to go, brand new spots, brand new everything. And I was ready to go, man. Saturday morning, I was pumped up, and it just didn't happen, Yeah.
We've all been there, and it'll happen again, probably.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Kurt, you don't suck too often, but whenever you do, how do you get over it, man?
Man, like Craig says, it happens to all of us, man. And just like Craig said, you just got to put it in the past, man. I try to take whatever lessons I can learn from it, and then just immediately move on, man. Dwelling on anything like that, it just doesn't do you any good. If there's some lesson you can learn from it, take it and apply it to the future, and just keep moving. And you kind of have to do that after a win too, right? You can't rely on how you won one tournament to win the next one. You kind of have to just move on and just put it in the past and start over. I mean, that's kind of part of the cycle of being a tournament fisher.
Yeah, that's right. And here's a great question by, one of the most interesting guys in the sport, the Wizard, Ramel Labrador. Craig, you have that bow mount XI3 on your Pursuit. Smitty, you've got that rear mounted Torpedo. Wait, give us y'all's impressions and how. I know you're not fishing with the motor this weekend because it's Hobie, but you can practice with it. How can you kind of give us, how you fish with a motor, how you integrate that into your fishing, and how it's changed your fishing, and maybe some likes or dislikes?
Go ahead, Kurt.
I use the Torpedo a lot, mainly for covering water and for checking out places and eliminating dead water. I mean, I use it to motor around and really reach out a little bit and get a couple miles from the ramp or more, and just eliminate dead water, man. I don't really use it actively during fishing nearly as much as I do just to get from spot to spot. I cruise up to the next spot. I use my Mirage drive. I go kind of in the stealth mode, fish it out, look at it, and then move to the next one, fish it out, look at it, move to the next one, just to use it to eliminate a lot of water.
If nothing else, it's got to be easier to eat a sandwich whenever you're not kicking the whole way. You turn on the motor and get down the water. Craig, how about you, man? How are you liking that bow mount?
Well, what Kurt was saying, I ran a Torpedo for a long time, and it's an incredible motor, and I love that motor. A reason I changed it because I wanted to try something a little different, something to get excited about, and I wanted to stand up and fish more. I just love standing and fishing the way I like to cast, but how I like to fish. I like to fish fast. I like to cover water. I like to, try to be precise as I can as I'm covering water, and hitting logs and hitting rocks with shallow running crankbaits or spinner baits or chatter baits. And standing is just, to me, you can just be more efficient, in my opinion. But having the bow mount is a little bit slower than having a Torqeedo. Torqeedos, man, they're fast, they're awesome, the batteries are awesome. I mean, it's just it's an awesome tool. But man, I just wanted to be able to fish windy points standing up, fish banks standing up, and being able to do that is really awesome. Especially having the XI3 when I can, use anchor lock. When I was on Kentucky Lake pre-fishing, I could go up to a brush pile with the wind in my face, which that's how I love to fish, casting into the wind, always, and in the current as well. And you can just hit the anchor lock. I can stand up and relax and fish, man. There's nothing like it. And I mean, they're both great in both situations. If I fished more rivers, more shallower stuff, the Torqeedo would definitely be the way to go. But we're, living in North Georgia, having that bow mount, man, I can just get locked on those spots and really be super precise and efficient.
Are you using just the handheld or both the wireless foot control too?
I'm just using the handheld now. Cody convinced me to get the foot control. I have the wireless foot control, but it's still in the box. He's like, man, just trust me. Trust me. Get out there. You're going to hate it at first, but once you get used to it, you won't go back.
Yeah. It makes me happy that you say that, because before we all got on, I was filling out my order form for my XI3. So,
man, Jimmy, it's let me tell you, man, for like, let's just say you want to, burn a buzzbait on a bank, right? And I use the heading lock, which if it's a fairly straight bank, you just point the heading lock, point the nose of your kayak, hit heading lock. It just goes straight. It'll adjust for the wind, for the current. You just stand up and fish, man. You don't worry about anything.
God, I can't wait.
You don't have to do anything with your feet. You don't have to do anything with your hands, but cast. You just stand there and cast. So it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty awesome. I
can't wait. And like you were saying with the Torqeedo being better for rivers, I think I'm going to try and cut my shaft down a little bit more on mine, because my whole thing was trying to use it to get upstream a lot in some of the spots, because like I like to fish after it rains a little bit and the water levels come up.
Yeah.
So I saw a guy, Logan Martin, was running up a shoal with a bow mount, and I was like, okay.
Was he really?
It can
do
be
what?
Nice.
Yeah, it was insane. So I'm going to play with that, and then if not, I'll probably go for my river boat. I'll probably use the New Canoe UPS system and do the rear mount. See how that works for river fishing.
I mean, if I was a river guy for sure, I would definitely have something on the back, like a Torqeedo for sure. But man, I'm in North Georgia. I got Carter's Lake, I got Allatoona, I got Lanier. I'm really enjoying that Rocky Mountain PFA. Pretty awesome over there. So, if I was down in Louisiana, I'd probably have a Torqeedo too. But they're both great tools. I just being able to stand and hit a button and go down a bank and just fish. I mean, it's pretty cool, man. It's pretty cool.
And
I'll have to come over there and let you drag me around Lake Lanier, man. That's on my list of places to go.
Come on, man. I'm not an expert on Lanier, but I got a handful of spots that we always catch good ones there. So come on.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, I gotta say, I put on the internet tonight, but tonight I went on to the New Canoe team, and I know people like you. I've got a pursuit now, and Craig, as a father, seeing you with your kid on the front, that inspired me, because I've just the amount of time I've had in my pursuit. I put my kid in the front, and we've had a great time. But seeing you, like whenever I was at Logan Martin, I was fishing by Cody Milton, and I see him just go, meow. I was like, oh, that's got to happen. Like
that was the moment that I was sold on a motor. Yeah. He spun around and flew up the current to me like that, and I was like, oh yeah.
I'm leaning back, I'm getting it with the pedal, and I'm like, oh, like.
Hey, I'll give it to Dan. That water was rolling, and he was doing just fine. I'm sure he couldn't walk to the truck, but
yeah,
he's kicking them legs.
I think if you're fishing a tournament nowadays and a motor is allowed, and you don't have a motor, a lot of times you're going to be in my mind, you're going to be at a disadvantage. Sometimes, obviously, like Cody Milton, whenever he was on Lake Fork, getting super shallow, sometimes they can go and play, but if you're fishing one of those KBF bass events and you don't have a motor, it's, you're putting yourself in a disadvantage from the start, I think.
Yeah. Well,
Craig, when you're not running the motor, are you paddling, or do you pedal that pursuit?
Man, I've never been a pedaling guy. I tried a native a long time ago, and I don't know, man. I didn't like all that in front of me. I didn't like having my knees. So I'm kind of short, so like my knees are kind of in my face when I'm pedaling. I guess I don't know. I guess I'm just too. I don't know what it is, but that's why I like the pursuit and like having that big open deck. I was really intrigued by that, and I pedaled a Hobie, awesome kayak. I mean, those are so efficient, man. It's unbelievable how efficient those kayaks are. But for me, I just never really got into pedaling. I had, like I said, I had a native for 5 or 6 months. I actually sold it to Steve Owens years ago, and great kayak. It just wasn't for me, and so I paddled, man. Like the Hobie event at Seminole, I was still in the attack then, and but I only paddled about a mile to the one spot. That's all I had, and then paddled back to the ramp. So it wasn't a big deal. So
Yeah.
Well, do you have anything else for him, Jimmy, before we let him go? It's been an hour and 20 minutes. We usually don't keep people on this long, but whenever you have guests this good, you got to keep them on a little bit longer.
No, I think we covered it. I definitely took a few things away from this. I think a lot of people got a lot of questions answered and can use it to either change how they do it or add to it. Well, it was a good show. We appreciate all the information you guys are willing to give us, and we hope to have you on here again when y'all win y'all's next tournament.
Which probably won't be too long.
Yeah.
We'll start with you, Craig. We'll roll out the red carpet. Anybody you want to thank? Any family sponsors? Anybody else?
Man, tonight I'm just going to thank my wife. Man, she supports me in all this. And I'll thank the guys at New Canoe. They just the team is awesome. Everett, Blake, those guys, man. Anything I need, they don't ask questions. They just say, "Okay, you got it." And man, that's it. I really appreciate you guys having me. Sorry I was having issues. I don't know. Internet's good. My phone was messing up, but thanks for having me, man. I hope I can come back soon.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Kurt, how about you?
I'd just like to thank my 3 main sponsors. I'd like to give a big shout out for Hobie. Obviously they're Hobie kayaks. We all know about Hobie kayaks and the Mirage Drive and the new 360 that's out. Like to thank Strictly Sail. They're my local Hobie dealer, and they carry all types of kayak accessories and other kayaks there. And Fishing Online. Those are my 3 big main sponsors. Those guys really support me a lot, and I'd like to give them a shout out to those guys.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks for having me on too. I mean, you guys are always awesome. I love talking to you guys.
Yeah, anytime. Yeah, y'all are great, and like Jimmy said, we'll have you back on soon. Well, good luck this weekend. I'm sure you'll do great, and go find the Edwin spot.
We may have you back Monday. I mean, it could be that soon.
You never know. All right, guys. Y'all be good and be safe driving up there.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks. Can we go longer? Can we just keep talking?
I'm telling you, like, we could literally make 2 and 3 hour podcasts talking to these guys. I don't know if it would benefit anybody but us, but I would be perfectly fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an hour and 20 minutes in. We usually try to cap it at like an hour, but damn, I just wanted to keep going.
Yeah.
Yeah. But tonight we don't really have any tournaments to talk about. We try to limit it to above 30 people or more, just because we can't talk about all of them. As always, if you have a tournament that you want us to talk about next week, just shoot either me or Jimmy a message. We've been more than happy to talk about your tournament anytime. But yeah.
The 4th had a lot of it turned off, which is perfectly fine. People spending times with their family. I didn't go fishing on the 4th, but I was working and I saw all the people on all the lakes and rivers, and I would not have been fishing a tournament out there anyway. So
yeah, it's probably safer if people didn't, because just like Craig was saying, wakeboarders, jet skiers, and all those other hooligans out there doing ridiculous things. So,
well, congrats for joining the New Canoe team.
Yeah, man.
Hope I was able to throw that sales pitch at you.
Yeah, man, I had your flint here for like a month. I felt bad, but I've been hiding that pursuit for a while here.
It's funny. I've had somebody hit me up the other day needing to use it, so there's a solid chance I won't have it for a couple weeks.
Oh, dang.
It's fine. I don't care.
You got the Frontier.
I took the Frontier down moving water yesterday for the first time to see how it handled the river, and I left the pedal drive on, and I was actually I was super happy because I was kind of worrying how that was going to work out, but it did great.
It's nice that drive kicks up. Like whenever I think whenever Jackson first came out with the flex drive, I thought, oh wow, they really
Yeah.
did something. You know, the native drive, it bumped up if as long as you didn't latch it down. But the Jackson, I was super impressed because it also bumped up whenever you hit something. And then whenever, to me, in my mind, if a company was going to come out with a pedal drive, it needed to be able to absorb a shock or move up. And whenever, New Canoe having the pivot drive with where it goes up, that's
I let it do that once just to see if it worked, but the boat paddles so well that when I would come up on the shoals, I would just kick the motor up and paddle around like I would in my Flint. But it was nice to have, we'd hit the deep spot and I could run 3 miles an hour upstream, and then spot control, like they were saying, like using the motor to get to the spot. That's the way it's going to work for me. I'm going to keep the pedals and I'll use the motor to get there and the pedals to hold my spot as I fish, because that's one thing I've really got to like about the pivot drive is with it steering from the rear with the propulsion, you can really stay on your spot just perfect. And
the reverse, I mean, I don't have a pivot drive yet. I'm about to put one on order. I know they're back ordered right now, but the way the pivot drive moves in the back, it turns so far that it's obviously, Hobie's got that 360 and that's awesome. But the way the pivot drive moves so much in the back, you really like it moves. It's got some really sharp turning radius.
If you fish like an area with current, it will blow your mind, because if you pay attention to kind of how a boat is moving in current, you can manipulate the spot in so many ways. Let it drift the front, kick the rear the other way, or vice versa. You can really dial it in, and it's been a fun experience. I was glad to get it back out. I haven't had that boat out in like almost 2 months. So
very cool. Well, yeah, man, I'm happy to be on the team, and I came from Native, and I was proud to be with them for a while, and I really enjoyed their boats, but I'm kind of transitioning to, rather than that bigger, better, more concept, because I came from the bass boat world, and this is why I made the decision. I kind of, people see me online and they see me really, I support the brands that support me, and I was really proud to be with an American-made company, and this isn't a reflection on them as much as it's the way I wanted to change my fishing. I wanted to go from that Titan to have more, to have the right stuff, to be paddle first, where I really kind of live that paddle pedal power, where I'm going to do all three, because I'm going to paddle whenever I get to go on rivers. And like I said, I get to take my son, he gets set up front so I can still paddle. That's awesome. And then in my local clubs in Alabama, they only accept a pedal drive. So then I can paddle. Sorry, it's so easy to get those mixed up. And now
motor.
And now I'm also going to have the bow mount XI3, because I really want to be able to compete in those Bassmaster and those KBF events where, I saw Cody Milton doing some things that I flat out could not catch those fish that he could. And that's all it took. You hear about it, you read about it, you hear people talk about it, but whenever you see it and you see the power of a motor and you can see the fish that you can access, whether it's range or stand on a spot that you couldn't before, it's a game changer. It really is. Like, you hate to use that term, but it's as much of a game changer as it is can be in some situations from paddle to pedal as it is from pedal to power. So
definitely.
So yeah, I'm super happy to be on the team. Great team. A lot of people I super respect. Great customer service. So I know we're both on Team New Canoe, and I don't want everybody to think this is going to be a love fest for New Canoe every time, but I just wanted to get that out there and explain it on why I made the change and why I thought it was going to help my fishing and for me to be more competitive and to really have more time, better quality time with my family, because I'm about to get a Flint for my wife, and it'll really be my riverboat. And then, so all three of us can go out and have a lot of fun. So super happy to be on team. And Wednesday, recording tomorrow night, I'll be on Kayak, Bass, and Beers with Armando. Super happy he invited me on there. So I have another announcement to make. So more than that.
I've got one. I actually forgot that I was given the approval
Oh,
that I can do it now.
I thought you were going to say it earlier whenever they were talking, but I didn't know if you could.
Yeah, I wasn't. I was listening to them, but yeah, I proud to announce that I joined up with the Dobbins Rods team. I've used their rods for I think 3.5 years now. I've always been a very pro with their stuff because they make stuff from the lower end in the Colt series all the way up to $500 rods and glass infused rods, and I think it's going to be a fun fit. It's another company that they do a lot of good stuff. They listen to their guys, and it's something I like is I like a company that makes you work for it. I don't want you to don't give me anything, make me earn it, and that's definitely how they are. So thanks to them for letting me join up with them this year, and can't wait to see what all comes from that.
Yeah, man. Congratulations. Great rods. I've never used one, but I look forward. I know you've said so many great things. And I respect a lot of people who use them. I've heard enough things from people that I respect that I know Dobbin rods are legit. I just haven't had the chance, but yeah, I'm going to have to steal one.
I got a lot, man. I can get a few of them to you.
Sounds good. Well, an hour and 30 minutes long show, but thank you, everybody. As always, thanks for listening. If you have a tournament or club or anything you just want to shout out, give us a holler, either me or Jimmy, message us on Facebook. If you have any questions, if you see that we're posting a show and you have a question for them and you're not going to be able to get online and maybe you could listen later, but you can't get in the comments, shoot it to us and we'll ask them, whenever we're on the show. So, yeah, we're all about trying to get as much information and just answer questions and everybody be better and highlight anglers. So next week we'll have a new show with new people and talk about awesome things and hopefully something we can learn. So
maybe not new people, it may be Kurt. So
yeah, maybe probably. Let's be honest. Chance that he's got a dang good chance of winning. Yeah, I know maybe shallow grass isn't really his thing, but
we'll figure it out.
Yeah, he's got pretty good odds. So as always, thanks for listening and wear your PFDs. Have a good night.
Good night.